welcome to a video about dividing fractions. So before we dive into an example, I want to hit a big concept that we address when we talk about dividing with fractions. So think about this for a second. If I multiply a number by 1/2, is that the same or different as dividing that number by 2? Well, let's think about this. If I take 10 and I multiply it by half, what's half of 10? That's going to equal 5. Well, same number. What if I take 10 and if I divide it by 2, 10 divided by 2 is also 5. And what we see here is that multiplication and division are hugely related. And in fact, multiplication and division, you can write the same problem by taking what we call the reciprocal. 1/2 and 2 are related because I can rewrite 2 as 2 over 1, and they're reciprocals of each other. Reciprocal. So the idea of a reciprocal is just basically taking the fraction and the numerator becomes the denominator becomes the numerator. Another way to think about it is we just flip the fraction. That is what the reciprocal is. So when we talk about doing division with fractions, to divide, we change it to multiplying, but by the reciprocal. So in other words, if I had, we just did that right here, 10 divided by 2 over 1 is the same as 10 times 1 over 2. That's the reciprocal. Okay, so let's do a little better example here. Let's do a nice one. Let's do 4/7. That's a good fraction. We're going to divide that by 1/5. So how many times does 1/5 go into 4/7? Essentially, that's kind of the problem here. Well, what we're going to do is turn this into a multiplication problem by the reciprocal. So I still have 4/7. You always keep the first number the same, but 4/7, instead of dividing that by 1/5, I'm going to turn it into a multiplication problem by 5 over 1. That's the reciprocal of 1/5. So we looked at multiplication previously. To multiply, we just multiply the numbers straight across. 4 times 5 and multiply the numerators to get 20. And multiply the denominators. 7 times 1 gives me 7. So there we go. That's essentially 4/7 divided by 1/5 is equal to 27. Now, while that's great and all, I want to put it into a mixed number. So 7 goes into 20 2 whole times. That gives me 14. But then there's 6 left over because 20 is 6 more than 14. So there's 6/7 that don't quite divide nicely. So 7/20 turns into 2 and 6/7. That is what 4/7 divided by 1/5 equals. But I really want to get this idea of division and multiplication being really related. Anytime you have division, you can always rewrite it as multiplication if you want to with the reciprocal.